I've seen a lot of comments asking how I make my thumbnails, so I thought I'd show you how. By the way, I won't be going super in depth here, but this should give you a pretty good idea of how you could make your own thumbnails. And before we hop in, let's try to get this video to 50 likes. If we hit that, I'll make a part 2. Okay, before we start, make sure you're on 1.20.1 or this is not gonna work. I will also be listing the mods I use in the description so you can download them. And with all that said, let's start making the thumbnail. Okay, so I just loaded a random bedwars map I had downloaded, and the first thing I always do when I join is figure out where I want my character to be. So for this video, I'm gonna have my character in green base, like right here. And then you should also make sure that the sun is positioned so that it's facing the base or wherever your character is supposed to be. So if my character is gonna be right here, the sun is facing my face. So yeah, so let's go ahead and get my stuff from the mod. So basically, I always use the NPC wand. That's like the main item. And then the NPC presets and the NPC stamp. The preset and the stamp won't really be necessary for this video, but that's basically what I always use, because the presets, I just have all my presets made, and the stamp basically just, you can like copy the characters and paste them in a different location if you want to. We're not going to be using these two this video, but the main thing we're going to be using is this NPC wand. So basically, you just right click where you want your character to be, and this is what you see. So now you just go to skin and then you change your skin. So like whatever skin you have, I'm just gonna choose my skin, and then the type will be slim because my character is a slim player. This is like optional, you don't need to have a cape, but I just like to use it because it looks better. And yeah, and then you finalize and then you have your player. So as of right now, this player is like facing that way and the sun is over there. So make sure you have your player rotated towards the sun. So I think it's the other way around. So 90 degrees this way, and boom, now the player is facing the sun. And now that the character is facing the sun, we can work on the pose. So we right click, we go to pose up here, and then we have all these options. So basically we can just move every body part of the NPC or the character. The head should be always looking up. This is just going to be a running like pose, so I'm just gonna do something like that. The right leg should go like that, the left arm should go backwards, and the left leg should be forwards. Alright, so now we have this, but the cape is just straight going down, so we gotta fix that as well. And there we go. Click finalize, and boom, we have this right now. Okay, so I forgot to do one more thing. This character is like placed in the center of the base. I don't want that to be there, so I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna place it somewhere like right here, so that we can delete this. And I'm also gonna rotate this a little bit. Okay, I think that should be good. Alright, so now we gotta take the screenshot. So for that, we gotta always put the FOV down to 30. We gotta set our flight speed to 0.1. And then we gotta change our game mode to spectator. And the reason I set the flight speed to 0.1 is because you can fly really slow now. Like, you can get a really good angle now. I think that should be pretty good. Actually, let's go up a bit, and yeah, that should be pretty good. So yeah, and now I'm just gonna turn on my shaders. Boom, that should be a pretty good screenshot. So to take the screenshot, you press F7 and this thing should pop up. The resolution, just click the highest resolution possible and then take screenshot, and that should do all the work for you. It should separate your character and the background to like 2 different screenshots. Let it do its thing, and then let's hop into the editor. Okay, so now I'm in Affinity Photo. This is not free, but there's a lot of alternatives for this. So I think Photopea is the best free alternative. I'll have that in the description as well. It should all be the same, even if you're like using Photopea. Like most of the features are just all this basically the same. But yeah, so I have both the screenshots that I took from Minecraft loaded into my editor. So as you can see, there's 2 screenshots right here. This is the background and this is the player. So the player was like, it took a separate screenshot of the player, like just like that. So like it's transparent, so you can move it around and nothing will happen to the background. So yeah, you can position it wherever you want. But I would recommend just keep the player as it is, like where you took the screenshot. Like don't rotate it around, like don't put it like right there. Now we just basically gotta change the lighting and put like add more shadows and stuff like that. First off, I'm gonna start by renaming the layers. So this is the player and this is the background. Okay, so now I'm gonna start adding shadows to my player. So I'm just gonna select all the darker areas. I'll probably do like a time lapse of me selecting everything because this usually takes a couple minutes. So yeah. So once you have all this selected, go over here, click brightness and contrast, and bring the brightness down a little bit so that there's like more shadows. And yeah, that should be pretty good. And then I'm gonna also select this side of my arm. And there we go. And now I'm just gonna do the same thing there. Go to my brightness and bring it down just a little bit, but not as much as we did before. That should be pretty much it with the body. And now I'm gonna add some shadow right here where my hair is. So I'm gonna go ahead and select this area. And boom, there we go. Alright, so now that we have that selected, I'm gonna go ahead and copy and paste it so that we have another layer. As you can see, we have just the face. And now we're gonna get my brush tool out. I'm gonna increase the size of it. And make sure you have like the black color selected. And then I'm just gonna paint over just a little bit. Just like that. So it's gonna add a little bit of shadow to it. Okay, and that should be good enough. I'm gonna deselect and move that. And there we go. We have a pretty nice shadow on my hair. So yeah, that should be good enough. Okay, so now I'm gonna select all this and I'm gonna put it inside this layer so that it's all like beneath this layer. This is like the main layer. That's just, you don't have to do that. That's just like my opinion. I just like to keep things clean so that I don't get confused. And yeah, okay, so now I'm pretty much done with my player. I'm gonna go ahead and get my player styles and I'm just gonna click on that. I'm gonna show you guys the effects I use. So in a glow, I would reduce it a little bit. I'm definitely gonna reduce my gradient just a little bit, and then my outer glow, that's gonna go down a lot. So yeah, that's gonna be, I think that's good enough, I think. So yeah, these are the settings, but if you guys want to use, you can pause the video. This is the inner glow, the gradient overlay, and my outer shadow. So I'm also gonna make a copy of this whole layer. I'm gonna remove all of this. Now I'm gonna go to my color overlay, set this to black. The opacity should be 100 and the blend mode should be at normal. And that should look something like this. I'm also gonna remove all these, so just hit delete. I'm gonna shrink this down like this and move it like this. And that should be good. And now this is gonna be the player shadow. So now I'm gonna bring it below this player and we gotta bring the opacity down a little bit. And I'm also gonna add a little blur to it. So there we go, that should be good enough. And now we gotta do some color adjustments because this is like kind of like dark or like pale, you could say, I don't know. So I'm gonna go here and get some vibrance and increase the vibrance a little bit. Increase the saturation just a bit. And I'm also gonna get some brightness. Increase the brightness, increase the contrast just a little. And this is just like personal preference. You can just play around with the settings of these effects and make it look like what you want it to look like. So yeah, so now I would also add some field blur to the background. I think that should be good, and I gotta resize this a little bit, so like that. And now for the text, we can just do this, and whatever text you want to do, I'll just do text because just for the video. And I'm gonna select I'll use Rific, I think it's called. Yeah, I'll use Rific, that's the font I usually use. I'm gonna set the color to white, and now I'm gonna center this out. I'm gonna make it big a little bit. Now I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna set up some drop shadow. Go to outer glow, set the blend mode to normal, and then I'm gonna set the opacity to 100. The offset, you can just play around with it a little bit. I'm just gonna do what looks good on this thumbnail, and I think that looks good. And I'm gonna set the color to white. Now I'm going to bring this down a little bit so that it's like a grayish color. And now I'm also going to do another drop shadow. And for this one, I'm going to bring the offset down and I'm going to bring the radius up. Just like that, so that it has like a kind of glow to it. And yeah, that should be pretty nice. I think this is like a good starting point for your thumbnails. Okay, and that's pretty much it. It's not that complicated. So hopefully this gave you a better idea of how I make my thumbnails. And if you found it helpful, don't forget to like and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And remember, if this video gets 50 likes, I'll drop a part 2 with even more details.